5 years and still talking. This 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 is GABNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before. We're GABNet, and we've got you covered live 5 nights a week. First Tuesday through Friday at 9:30 Eastern, it's The Exchange.
Harlan Ellison totally insisted that there were no sounds in space on Babylon 5. Watching it for 20 minutes will clearly show that there are sounds in space. So what the fuck are you pulling this out of, Mr. Harlan Ellison? That pretty much cemented the idea of who Harlan was in my brain.
Tuesday through Friday at 10 Eastern. Join Alex Bennett on the Ramble.
You don't think Bill Clinton's a pervert?
No, I don't.
Go ahead.
No, I really don't. I think I think he's a man who let his dick talk for him. You know, I think he's a guy who was pursued by a young woman and should have said no, but he didn't. Now, the only woman I ever talked to that fucked Bill Clinton was Jennifer Flowers. She kept saying during the interview, you know, I really did have sex with Bill Clinton. And I asked her the question, I said, that's not what's important to me. What's important to me was he a gentleman? And she said, he was terrific. She said, every time we'd have sex, the next day he would call and see if I was okay. He never dodged my calls. If I wanted to call him, he was absolute gentleman.
Tuesday through Friday at midnight, The Intersection.
We now know that Trump doesn't hate all Democrats. He at least likes the Democrats who he perceives to be as crooked as he is.
Ah, wait a minute, ring that bell!
I mean, between Menendez and Blagojevich, you know, who he pardoned.
Mm-hmm. If you like sports, we've got that too, with The Arena, Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
There's a lot of long-ass games come knockout round because they have to finish. So you have to play up to 120 minutes plus a penalty shootout.
Okay.
Catch up on all the shows with our weekend flashback. All shows have the Citizen Panel, an exclusive concept of GABNet. It's new, it's daring, it's talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody, this is Alex Bennett, host of The Ramble, heard here and seen here on GABNet, Tuesday through Fridays, live at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and I got some big news for you. Our program has moved its live video from Facebook Live to YouTube Live. After extensive tests in our GABNet laboratories of at least 10 minutes, our mind was made up and we've come to the conclusion that YouTube is superior not only in video quality, but audio as well. And then there's the ease of watching it. Here's what you do. Simply point your browser to youtube.com/Bolo Bennett /live. That's youtube.com/Bolo Bennett, BOLOBENNETT /live. And you're there. The player is waiting, and you do nothing, and when the show begins, so does the player. Couldn't be simpler. In fact, tag that page as a permanent tab on your browser, and you're ready to go. And if all of this is too vexing for you, well, just go to GABNet.net near showtime, and the player in the middle of the page will start to play when we're on. We're thrilled with the new quality our move has provided, and while you're there, would you do me a favor and please subscribe to our channel? No, I beg you to. Hey, listen to me, I'm groveling, okay? I know, it's pathetic. I'm sorry, I'm debasing myself, and I really shouldn't be. Please.
5 years and still talking. This is GABNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey, hey everybody, how are you? I'm Alex Bennett, and this is the Ramble, and it's our first night this week. We took last night off. We'll tell you about that a little bit later, but right now we're going to check in with our old friend. Ladies and gentlemen, from the other coast of the United States of America, from San Francisco, California, it's Larry Bubbles Brown. Hello, Larry.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, hello, Larry, a TV show that was the biggest failure in the history of television.
By McLean Stevenson.
By McLean Stevenson, yeah. Yep.
Who left MASH to do that turkey.
Yep.
He went. The most successful sitcom in history. He left.
Yeah.
That's a decision I would have made. Was there
a bigger?
He was funny.
There was one bigger failure than his show, because Hello Larry, I think, lasted like 13 episodes before they canceled.
Yeah,
it, But I had a friend who was involved in a show called Turn On.
George Slaughter.
George Slaughter did it for ABC. He had Laugh-In on NBC, and then he sold them this idea of Turn On. And I think it may be the first show that was ever canceled before it made West Coast play.
Yeah, they say it got canceled as the times were changing across. Time zones were changing.
Yeah. They may have actually made it to the West Coast. But I had this friend, Chuck McCann, and Chuck told me the story about how he got this job on Turn On, being one of the people who was kind of like Laugh-In, but it was different cast and everything. And so here you got Turn On, and he said he did the first show, and he went to sleep that night. He got up the next morning. He walked into the office, and it was like tumbleweed was going through the office. And he said, "What the fuck has happened here?" And they said, "We were canceled." He said, "After one show?" He says, "Yep." ABC didn't like it. Or it could have even been something as just pernicious as that ABC had hired a new head of programming who didn't make that decision in the first place, and so he didn't want to go along with it. In any event, the next day, he went in there and said, we're going to go in and we're going to get ready for show number 2, right? Nope, wrong, no show. But the worst of all time, and I think we've talked about this before, was what happened to Jack Gallagher. Jack Gallagher was I think, a pretty great comic.
Very strong comic from Boston.
I thought as a stand-up, one of the better ones I've seen. I think you'll agree with me on that.
I think you brought him up on Comedy Tonight, and he had one of the best TV shots I've ever seen.
He was incredible. And
do you remember that? He tore the place apart.
You knew fire was going to strike, that this guy was going to do something big. So what happens? Who is he? He was good friends with Goldthwait. Yeah. And all of a sudden we hear Jack Gallagher, this guy who, we thought was terrific, but that doesn't mean that he's going to become big, gets himself a series on ABC. Again, ABC. Another story.
The mark of death.
They do the Jack Gallagher show, right? I don't know. It's a sitcom. Maybe he was a doctor or something. No, he wasn't a doctor. He played a doctor on Curb Your Enthusiasm. But
I should know. I think he played a sportscaster.
Something like that, yeah. It's a family sitcom thing.
Yeah.
You know? But we were so happy for him because there wasn't any person on planet Earth who didn't like Jack Gallagher. He was just one of these guys that everybody liked, unlike me. Okay?
And me.
I find it very hard to find anybody on the face of the earth who likes me. Okay? So when I do, I cling on to them like grim death. But Jack Gallagher's loved by literally everybody. And so we couldn't have been happier that he got a series. And then you got TV Guide that week. Remember TV Guide, folks?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Kids today don't even know what TV Guide was, but the guide you had on your table, and so what's on tonight, dear? Well, let's see. At 8:30, we've got whatever. And on TV Guide, they had taken out 2 whole pages side by side so that when you opened it up, there was the Jack Gallagher show, right? That's about as big as you can get when they take out an ad like that, okay? And I think they premiered 2 episodes. They were going to do them one night after the other. And they're in TV Guide. Every TV Guide in America's got a 2-page ad for Jack Gallagher's show. They canceled his show before it was ever broadcast.
Wow.
You know, I mean, I'm telling you, you got these 2 pages side by side. So when you opened it up, there was a full TV guide of the Jack Gallagher show ad. And they canceled it, like, I think the night before it was supposed to go on. And the reason was, in that case, it was what I said earlier. It was some executive who didn't make the decision about Jack Gallagher, who had just been appointed the head of programming, who decided he didn't like the show.
They do that.
And I felt so bad for Jack Gallagher. I mean, I just felt horrible for him. Because, number one, nicest guy in the world, okay? Mm-hmm. A success where, you know, of course, I will resent anybody else's success, but I didn't resent his, okay? And I once said to Jack after the fact, I said, what kept you from slicing your wrists? And he said, well, a couple of things. Number one, that's show business, because he was just he was very realistic about the business he was in. And I think he said to me, and also I had 13 weeks worth of money they had already paid me. So, you know, at least I got something out of it. But I said, if that happened to me, I'd go look for the closest fucking bridge, you know. And he said, well, that's show business. And he never got another shot on national television. He went to Sacramento and became a local TV personality up there. You know, he's still around. If anybody ever watched Curb Your Enthusiasm, Larry David had a doctor on several episodes throughout the years, and that was Jack Gallagher.
Are you still in Sacramento? I'm working with him in a couple of weeks.
I guess he's still doing stand-up, right?
Yeah, and he's doing another. He's done a couple of one-man shows, and he's got a new one coming out that sounds very interesting. He was on a bicycle accident and got hit by a car.
Yeah.
So he goes to the ER, and they sent him home. And a couple days later, his wife said, "Jack, I think you should go see the doctor. You've been acting weird." So they take him back to the hospital, and I guess he had a rather severe concussion. So the doctor's orders were he had to sit in a dark room for 4 days and do nothing, because I guess the brain gets over-agitated and you just have to relax it. So he's doing a one-man show about this called Concussed. But I can't imagine sitting in a dark room doing nothing for 4 days.
I can't imagine sitting in a dark room with him doing a comedy one-man show about getting a concussion. But if anybody
he can pull it off.
He can pull. If anybody could do it, he can pull it off. No question about it. You know? Wow. Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing, I remember when you talk about shows that didn't go on. Another guy we liked, what's his name? Oh God, my mind's going. He died a few years ago.
Schimmel.
Bob Schimmel. He got a series on Fox. And this was another guy who we all like Bob Schimmel. Bob Schimmel was, to me, he was gold. He was gold because he was a good friend as well as a really great comedian. And the reason I say a good friend is that when I was out of work in San Francisco and all of a sudden I was fired, the one guy from out of town who would call me constantly to make sure I was okay was Bob Schimmel. And the Bob Schimmel story, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the saddest stories in the history of comedy. And it starts with his son getting cancer and him having to go out on the road, not be with his kid, so he could make enough money to pay the hospital bills to get this kid the best possible care he could get. And he took this kid with him on the road, and the kid was really quite sick. Do you remember this story, right?
Oh, yeah, and the kid was sick for years.
Yeah, sick for years. Eventually, the kid died at about 11. But the story of just that alone, the dramatic quality of that, would be enough to make a movie in and of itself. A father is a comedian who finds out his kid has cancer and now has to go out on the road to make the money to pay for the kid, taking the kid around wherever he went so that the kid could see the world. I mean, it's an absolutely, number one, it's a beautiful story, but it's a horrible story at the same time. Okay, that's bad enough. Okay. Then after the death of the kid, the marriage doesn't last. And so he breaks up with his wife. And all of a sudden, he comes down with, what kind of cancer did he come down with the first time?
I think it was lymphoma.
Something like that. Yeah. They cure it. Okay. Then he gets something else, another kind of cancer. He wrote a book called Cancer on $5 a Day.
I remember he at one point he needed a liver.
He needed that was towards the end. He needed the liver. He was waiting for the liver at the end. But he had one health issue after another. I mean, it just didn't stop. It just didn't stop. And he kept doing his comedy, and he would come in to see me at Sirius, and every time I saw him, I went, he's looking worse and worse. I mean, he was looking pale, and he was just, and then finally it turned out he needed a liver transplant. And so he was waiting for the liver transplant, and he's riding down the street. His daughter is driving the car
that he bought for her. And I guess the car hit a tree or it hit another car or something. I think they hit another car and it rolled over and she lived and he died.
Yeah. Is that not the saddest career you ever heard of in your life? I mean, really, it was one, he lived, it was like he was Job, okay? And God had said, okay, I'm leveling everything I can at you. Let's see if you can take this. Can you take this one? Can you take that one? And he just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. He was a survivor. There's no question about that. And I thought he would die of a bad liver or he would die of cancer. But no, he dies because his daughter, did we say hit another car? Was that it?
It was an accident. It wasn't a tree, but I think it was another car, or the car rolled over. And...
Yeah. So, I knew the daughter because the daughter came in and did the show with him once, and then my engineer took a liking to her, and they dated for a while.
Oh wow!
So all I could think of is, how does that daughter feel? I mean, to this day.
Exactly. Yeah, I always wondered that.
So these are some real amazing stories that we have here about life and about what's going on, about that kind of thing. But that is the most tragic comedy story I've ever known, and a guy I really miss. When he went, I was taken back.
First time I did a road gig in Sacramento, I worked with Bob Schimmel, and he was very helpful to me.
Yeah, and my question is, why all the good guys die?
Exactly. The mean guys go on forever.
Here you're telling me, folks, I should believe in the Lord thy God, and I don't see any evidence that he exists. Otherwise, Robert Schimmel would still be alive. Jack Gallagher would have his 10th series on ABC. The good people would be rewarded, the bad people, then you can smite them, okay?
Yeah.
But I don't see any evidence of that.
Yeah, I think that the whole karma theory is as stupid as religion itself.
I go back to maybe one of the greatest comics I ever saw was Bill Hicks. No question about it. I think you'll agree with me. He was immaculate. Okay? He was what comedy is. He, to me, was... People always used to say, Bill Hicks is the so-and-so, whoever they're referring to. Sam Kinison, the new Lenny Bruce. No, he wasn't the new Lenny Bruce. Okay? He was good, but he wasn't the new Lenny Bruce. But everybody would use this thing about the new Lenny Bruce. If there was anybody that came close, it was Bill Hicks. He had the same outrage. He railed against society. His act was immaculate. Okay? And if you ever want to see his work, they've got HBO specials with him, and a whole bunch of stuff is online. Go to YouTube. Just put in Bill Hicks, and you'll see any number of stand-up acts with him. But he was just incredible, and died at 32 of pancreatic cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the last time I ever saw him? It was in the
just as he was starting to get huge.
It was in the Punchline dressing room, the club that's closing in San Francisco, and I said to him, "So how are you?" And he said, "I'm quitting comedy." I said, "What?" He says, "Yeah, I'm quitting comedy. I don't want to do it anymore." I said, "Why are you quitting comedy? You're incredible." And he just said, "That's it for me. I'm through with it." And we talked for a while, and I left. I didn't know anything was wrong, but he did. He knew they had pancreatic cancer, and the doctors gave him 6 months to live. And you don't hear usually people dying at 32 of pancreatic cancer, but he drank and he smoked, and he went. I remember he had done in the first couple of weeks that Letterman was on. He did the Letterman show, and when he left, he said to himself, they all patted him on the back, said, "Great set," whatever. He went back to the hotel, said, "I finally was able to do my act and give people an idea of who I am on television. I've never been able to do that before." And then he gets a call from the producer of the show who says to him, "Sorry, but we're not going to run the set. Dave is worried about it." And they didn't run the set. And there was, the next day I talked to him on the air about it, and he told this story, about how he went back to the hotel and thought it was terrific. And Letterman, in later years, felt so guilty about this, especially after Bill died, that he had Bill's mother on the show and then ran the set that never ran.
They ran the set, yeah.
Yeah. But the day that Hicks died, I called over to Shecky over at the Letterman show, and I said, "Did you hear about Bill Hicks?" And he said, "What did he do now?" And I said to him, "He died." He went, "What?" I said, "Yeah, he died, pancreatic cancer." And Shecky was absolutely stunned, and I hear Letterman was stunned, and for years felt guilty about it.
Yeah.
Felt very guilty about it. So this was a guy who was terrific, and again I say, God, if you exist, where were you? Let's talk about a few deaths, because you like talking about death, right?
We love death, yes.
You love death. And when we're recording this, this just happened yesterday, but when this is going to be played, that's about a week later. Doris Day.
97.
You know, Shecky sent me a link, or sent me a thing, said on your Alexis. I'm saying Alexis because Alexa, because I can't say the other word. Otherwise, it will say something back to me here in the office. Okay, because I have one. Say, well, watch what happens. Echo, what time is it?
It's 1:49 p.m.
See, so I can't say the word Echo. Okay. Anyway, so he said, try playing off of Amazon. Just ask for songs by Doris Day and Andre Previn. And I asked for it, and she was phenomenal.
Wow.
I mean, you think of her as being this virgin-esque, clean-cut, whatever, but we forget that she was a singer with Les Brown's Band of Renown for years, and that's where she got her big start, and that she was a big fan of Ella Fitzgerald, and basically, she was kind of a jazz singer. And on this album, she is just, I mean, it's breathtaking. It's just breathtaking. And the greatest quote I read was, remember Oscar Levant?
One of my favorites.
Yes, Oscar Levant was a concert pianist who somehow made a career being a comedian in movies. I don't know how that happens, but it does. And his quote, and he was always great for a quote. Somebody said this, no, this was Groucho Marx, or somebody said this. No, it wasn't. It was Oscar Levant who said, I used to know Doris Day before she was a virgin. She was phenomenal. And I think because of the kind of movies she did and the kind of career she had, we kind of don't think of her as fondly as we perhaps should. But she was a superb actress. I mean, look at The Man Who Knew Too Much, for instance, as an example.
Yeah, I think she's remembered for those lame Rock Hudson movies, but she's a little more to her than that.
There was a lot more to her than that. She also did one with Jimmy Cagney, Love Me or Leave Me, which was about Ruth Etting, who was a singer who fell in love with a gangster, played by Jimmy Cagney in this picture. And she turned in a great performance. I mean, she was not a hack, okay? She had chops. And sometimes, you know, your chops are great, but chops aren't what are going to make you the big bucks. And she went with the big bucks until she married Marty Melcher, who then somehow invested her money badly. And when he suddenly dropped dead, she found out she didn't have any money. But he left her with a CBS TV series, which she then did for 5 seasons, and that got her out of the hole. And her son was Marty Melcher, who was a record producer, who either signed or came close to signing Charlie Manson as a recording artist.
Right. Honest connection
and
ever.
Supposedly owned the home or something, owned the home that the Manson murders took place in, Polanski's residence, that was actually Melcher's place. So the Melcher family had a link to the Manson family. Yeah. But then again, so did everybody else in Hollywood. I mean, the Beach Boys, for instance, were again the same thing. Another person that died, and I just wanted your opinion, Tim Conway.
Oh, loved him.
Tim Conway was singularly terrific. Okay, I mean, as a sketch comic, he was. If you want to talk about the quintessential sketch comic, there he is, right there, right in your face. Tim Conway.
Nothing funnier than him and Harvey Korman.
Oh yeah, and they would constantly break each other up. That was the other part about it. So we lost 2 greats, and I'm sitting here. I mean, this show, as I say, is going to be played this episode with Bubs because we do 2 in one day. They're going to be played a week after. Well, like Doris Day actually died yesterday, but it'd be a week plus yesterday. Who knows? They go in threes. I wonder who the third is going to be.
Probably us.
Probably, yeah. I feel like it, you know.
And Doris Day, also a great animal rights activist, which we love.
Well, that was her. That was what she did for the rest of her life. Is she, you know, looked out for pets, and she had a show about it, and that was where Rock Hudson made his last television appearance. So, you know, I mean, she was not to be trifled with as just passing her off as a hack. She was terrific. She was just terrific. Yeah. Anyway, that's about it for Larry Brown.
That's it for now.
And in case I drop dead tomorrow and don't ever see you again, nice knowing you.
Well, maybe we can work out at that new Google gym in San Francisco.
Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Bubbles Brown.
Ah.
5 years and still talking. This is GABNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
We love talking to Larry, right? Don't we? By the way, it's that time of year where you can hear in the background my air conditioner. Okay? Am I a little off sync? I don't know. I can't tell. I don't care. I don't give a shit anymore. I really don't. Let me see here. Where are we gonna go? But let me open up the lines here. It is hot in here tonight, and it's not that hot, but this room for some reason gets hot. So anyway, I imagine I'm in sync. Tell me if I'm not in sync. I should be. This is the old machine, or the good machine, or the whatever machine. I'm trying to figure out how much off I am. Well, anyway, because I can do something about that. I can actually change this. Oh, here we go. We already have somebody calling us. Yep. Let me see here. Jeff Stein is calling. Okay. Hello, Jeff. How are you this evening? Let me put him. Let me put his picture up here. There we go. There's Jeff. Let me see here. And then we go over to Charles Wallace. But of course, Charlie is going to have to be called back. Oh, wait a minute. We got Charlie anyway, because he already has a place. Here comes Josh Wheeler. Let's see if Josh jumps in, or whether I'm going to have to call him back. I think I'll have to call him back. So let me just call him back. Okay. And we get, let me see here. Where are we? Josh Wheeler. There we go. Okay, he's in the third spot, but he's not coming in. Are you there, Josh? Oh, there he is. Okay, all right. So I can now transition everybody over to this. Okay. Now, if I go over to this, somebody else is calling. Is somebody else calling? I guess not. I guess I don't have to worry about that yet. Okay.
Do you have me?
Yeah, I have you. We got you. Yeah, you're good. You're terrific. And let me see here. Is there anybody else who was trying to call? It's strange because I saw somebody up, but no. Okay, we're fine. All right. How are you guys tonight?
Doing good.
You're doing good? Yeah, I've got this air conditioner on in the background, and people might be able to hear it or not hear it. Can you hear it at all?
I don't notice.
Most people don't ever hear it, but it drives me crazy. So, I'll just have to live with it. I don't know what I'm going to do about air conditioning here, to be very honest with you, to tell you the truth. But, so hello, Jeff. Hello, Charles. Hello to Josh. We are glad to all have you here. We are using the new machine now, and it's not huffing and puffing, so I thought I was a little out of sync, but I don't look like it now. Well. Anyway, be that as it may, I'm just emotionally exhausted I had to. And where is Phil tonight? I guess maybe he's got one of his meetings where he goes and beats up on old people with his photography. Yeah. Anyway, I, as you know, oh, wait a minute. Oh, here he comes now. I guess I'm wrong. Let me see here. Well, there he is. He came in anyway. Let me see here. Let me put him in the fourth slot. Let's see here. Scuba diver. Okay, there we go. Fourth slot. And there we go. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Hello, Phil. How are you this evening?
Hey, I'm great. And you?
I'm okay. I've been better.
Yeah. You said you were going to go into. I thought you were going to do your monologue on your.
Yeah, and then I realized that I had a Bubs I hadn't played yet, and I got to interview him next week. And if I didn't play it this week, I'd have to just dump one with him because tomorrow night I've got my wife, my ex-wife. So anyway, so I thought I would just tell it during the show here.
Sounds good.
I had the most depressing evening I've had in years last night. We had this, WPLJ was a station that I worked at, what, 35 years ago maybe?
It's longer than that.
40?
Yeah, maybe
42?
42, yeah.
Yeah. I was...
As long as I know you.
I was one of the first staff at this station. And I guess... how do I explain it? I'm so tired tonight that I'm having a hard time telling the story. So they had this, what happened was WPLJ has been sold. And it's been sold to a religious organization who's going to turn it into church music all day long. Okay? And it was a rock station for those 42, 43 years. And everybody is now bemoaning the end of WPLJ. Like, there's something to moan about? There's nothing to moan about. Obviously, Cumulus sold the radio station because it wasn't making the money. So, you know, I mean, these kind of things happen. But everybody was moaning and crying over it, and I said, you know, which WPLJ are you moaning over? Because just because it had the same call sign for the last 42 years doesn't mean it was the same station or format over the last 42, 43 years. And when I started, it was a progressive radio station. Basically, they hired a bunch of personalities like me and then said, go do anything you want to do. Really, literally. And it was really a cool radio station. We had a wonderful time with this radio station until the corporate guys got into it, until it started becoming formatted and, you know, programmed and all of that. And then it became what I would call uninspiring schlock. All right? So they had this big deal last night, this big party where everybody's supposed to show up to celebrate the life of WPLJ, all its personalities, all the people that worked at it. One of the people that worked at it was Albert. So he came to New York to be part of this, and I didn't know whether I was going to go to this thing or not, but I decided that if he was going to come into town, I would go to it. Now, mind you,
cut out early?
What?
Did he?
No.
Okay.
I mean, he knew everybody there because he had worked there over a period of 20 years. And so he knew all the people practically in the room. And I knew nobody. Okay, absolutely nobody. I met the music director that I worked with, and I think that was it.
Is anybody still alive?
Well, yeah, most of us are still alive who were with that original crew. But I was the only one who showed up. I and a guy by the name of, I'm trying to remember his name now. Can't remember his name right now. He showed up.
You were the only one that was ambulatory.
No. It was Vin Scelsa. He's still alive. And Michael Cascuna, he's still alive. And, you know, there were some people
Bennett
like...
is still alive.
Alex Bennett is still alive.
I can't remember. Was the woman that was on there Allison Steele?
No, that was over WNEW.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Night Bird or something.
The Night Turd. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what my friend Zach used to do. He was over there for a while until he came over to us, and she would go on after him, I think, and he would say, "So stay tuned now for the Night Turd." But he would mumble when he would talk, so he could have been saying the Night Bird, but he just always said the Night Turd.
Yeah. So I didn't mean to interrupt.
Anyway, so I mean, I almost didn't go to this thing, and it seems like nobody from my group of people really wanted to go to this thing. So I turned out to be the only one who went. I and this other guy, and I'm trying to remember his name now. I can't off the tip of my whatever remember what his name was. I'll remember it in a minute. I'll go look it up, and then I can. Oh, here's Tony. Tony just appeared. Okay, all right. As if by magic. So anyway, Jimmy Fink was the other guy. He was there. I don't know if he was there when I first went there, but he was there, we could say, was part of the first wave of people. Gee, Tony calls and then he leaves. Fuck.
He wants to show us the wallpaper and the curtains.
Yeah.
You know, very contemporary.
Don't call unless you can sit there for a while, Tony.
Oh, sorry, I had to plug my charger.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, well, I've got to go check out the air conditioning to see if it's working.
Okay.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, so I was the only one from that original crowd, that and Jimmy Fink, who came after me, who was even there last night. And I went in with Albert, and Albert knows everybody, and he's saying hello to everybody, and he's hugging, kissing everybody, and they're saying hello to him, and then he introduces me. Oh, this is my friend Alex, you know, and I felt like I was his plus one, you know, and all of this was starting to really depress me. Plus, there is this woman. Her name is Carol Miller. She was one of the first, admittedly, one of the first women jocks to work in New York City. Although Allison Steele preceded her over at NEW. And she really was part of kind of the second wave of people that came in, you know, and so I see her at the front door, okay? And she says to me, "Oh, yeah, you never used to come see me because you didn't think women should be disc jockeys."
Oh, shit.
She carried a 42-year grudge?
I went... Well, to begin with, that's bullshit. I said I didn't talk to you because I didn't talk to anybody. I kind of had my own little talk show, and I didn't have a relationship with very many people on the radio station. I said, but it wasn't because I didn't like women. In fact, I didn't say this to her, but the first female engineer at board op at ABC worked my show, and I was happy to have her there, you know. So, I mean, this was bullshit. But that's the first thing that's said to me as I'm waiting in line to go into this fucking thing, right? So that starts me off on a good mood. Then I get in.
They have stickers with your names on it that you stick to your...
No, they didn't have stickers. So nobody knew who anybody was, and at our age, nobody knows what anybody looks like anymore.
Yeah.
You know? But anyway, I'm going to show the people. I don't know if you guys are going to... You guys can't see this, but you'll probably hear it. But this... was the party last night, and just listen to the sound. Look at that, folks. Wall-to-wall people. I shot that up on a stairwell Okay, so I was apart from the kind of a little bit away from what should be the noise, but that's how the room sounded. You couldn't talk to somebody without straining your voice. Okay.
All of those people actually worked there?
Over what, 43 years? Yeah.
Oh.
I'm surprised. Yeah, but anyway, trying to even walk forward was impossible, and getting out of there when I finally decided to leave was like I had to push people out of the way. I mean, it was just horrible. And you know, then I'm getting messages from Albert like, "Where'd you go? Willard Lockridge is here." Willard Lockridge was the general manager who took over from the guy who was running the place when I first went there, and was a total fucking asshole douchebag. Okay? And I wrote Albert back, "I'm glad I left early." You know? I mean, it was depressing. It was depressing because, let's face it, I'm the legacy of that radio station. Okay? There would not be that radio station if it weren't for me and about 5 other people who were the first personalities on that station.
Alex, you couldn't have a conversation in that room.
Well, wait a minute. Let me finish. What I'm saying is it was like nobody knew who the fuck I was.
Yeah.
And if they knew who I was, I was the guy that was on with Albert at Sirius.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I'm going, fuck you. You know, I don't need this. It's embarrassing, and I don't, you know, and I walked out of there really, totally, utterly depressed.
Wow.
You know, and almost suicidal, I have to be honest with you. I mean, I was just absolutely depressed, and decided, with the exception of Midnight Blue, I don't want anybody to talk to me about my career in New York City any longer. You know, I mean, we can talk about Sirius, you know, and we can talk about Midnight Blue, but don't talk to me about WPLJ. Because if they if they don't remember me and I'm not important to them in some small way, then I don't want to be known for that at all, you know. But WMCA, you know, I mean, I probably did better work at WMCA or more original work at WMCA than I did at PLJ. PLJ was more of what I had already established doing at WMCA. But I just, you know, if nobody wants to recognize who I am, or I'm not asking for people to praise me. It's just these people were so welled up in themselves, and they were also, if you realize, this radio station went through several format changes, went through several periods. I mean, there was our period, and then there came this music period, and then this guy Scott Shannon got the morning show and became the program director, and then it was the Scott Shannon period, and then it was somebody else's period after that. And then I guess during those days my wife had a period, and, you know, I mean, it was just, you know, it made no sense to me. Why were they mourning this place? Because the call letters were going away? Because whatever station you were, whatever format or station you were associated with in your time hasn't existed in years anyway. You know, and all it is a call sign. So, I do have a distinguishing characteristic here, something which I think is important for me to mention. This show is going to religious music. Really, bought by a church group. Going to religious music. Now we say that's terrible. I used to work at WMCA. You know what WMCA is now? It's a religious station. Apparently, I'm a bad omen. You hire me, and your station will go religion.
One of my favorite was WWRL, Top of the Dial. You remember that one?
No.
They had all the black preachers. And I'm going to send to all of you the gold cross that goes with it. You know,
yeah.
That, you know, it was.
Well, it wasn't at the very
because
end.
It was the top of the dial, they thought they were closer to God.
It's not the top of the dial. You mean it was like at 560 around there?
No, 1600.
No, that's the bottom of the dial.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it was the higher number.
No, it was the bottom of the. It's considered the bottom of the dial. Yeah. And those are all the low power stations. Even if they have the same power as a station at 560, for instance, they don't have nearly the power. 5,000 watts at 560 is 100 times better than at 1560.
How come 1600 sounded so clean? You know,
because you were near it.
Oh, it was a clean sound.
No, it wasn't. It was AM. AM never had a clean sound. But anyway, so last night it just so depressed me. I just walked out of there just going, "What do I need this for?" You know. I mean, and then supposedly Albert then sends me a picture. They have my picture up on the screen with John and Yoko, and he said they just had a tribute to you. And I wrote him back and I said, if John and Yoko weren't in that picture, they wouldn't have shown that photograph.
Yeah.
You know. So I was really, and I said to myself, I shouldn't go. And the fact is, these other people like Vince Scelza and Michael Kaskuna, and I'm trying to think of who were the few other people that we had at the station at the time, they're all still alive. They didn't show up. And I know why they didn't show up, for the same reason I didn't want to show up. Because all we would be is an oddity. Nobody would know who we were, because they're so welled up in this class reunion for their mediocre fucking radio station. So, you know.
Yeah. How do you really feel?
Oh, gee, I was pissed. I was just, you know, bothered by the whole goddamn thing. You know.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, you want to feel good about yourself? I was at a customer's house today.
Yeah.
She had a little bubble in her linoleum.
Yeah.
So I went to take a look at it. And she says, yeah, I've had a tough couple of months. My father died 3 months ago, and my husband died last month. And I'm seeing the picture of her husband, 54 years old. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I said, you know, what happened? Heart attack? Or she says, no, he committed suicide. I mean, you know,
what was he? New York City taxi cab owner who had a medallion?
No, worse. He had a business. His partner embezzled $100,000. I guess that put a dent in his business, and some other things. And his doctor put him on Prozac, and he'd been on Prozac for 2 years. And then all of a sudden, he was depressed. Boom. You know, because when she told me that he died, I was saying, you know, I really need to do a will or a trust or something. And she says, yeah, he died, no trust. And so when I asked what he died from, that's when she said she committed suicide.
Well, as bad as I was feeling last night, you might be able today to say, gee, 2 suicides in one day.
Yeah, really.
You know. But no, I couldn't believe how depressed I was.
Was it an open bar at least?
Yeah, but I don't drink.
I know. You could have gotten a Coke.
I think they gave you they gave you a drink ticket. I think you got one drink.
Oh, okay, generous. Huh?
Yeah.
Did you have food?
What? Oh, yeah. There was this buffet which was so pathetic. I mean, how there were 300 people there, and how they figured this amount of food was going to satisfy 300 people was beyond me. And listen, I don't want to put down the people who put this thing together. I mean, it was put together by a guy who's the program director at WOR named Tom Cuddy, very nice guy. He meant well by all of this, you know. And I'm sure if I had stayed there, I think they had a whole bunch of all the people who were the personalities get up on stage. I would have been asked to do the same. They mentioned me in some article today that I was there. You know, they apparently didn't look to see how long I stayed, but they said I was there. You know, but I just felt I don't know. I just didn't. It wasn't one of the best moments of my life.
Yeah.
And I wish I hadn't gone. To tell you the truth, I wish my better angels had prevailed. Okay.
Yeah. You need to fill on your shoulder last night. Don't go, Alex.
Huh? I wouldn't have told him not to go.
The Culprit One Club.
I couldn't have anticipated that was how it would go.
Yeah, I anticipated it wasn't going to be fun, you know, because it was going to be all the people who came after me, all the people who felt when the station was a big popular radio station. Now, popular doesn't mean unusual and different and inspiring to people. I mean, the PLJ that I was part of people to this day remember legendarily. Okay.
Yeah.
The rest of it they remember of, oh, that was the #1 station in New York. Well, you know, #1 doesn't exactly mean interesting. #1 doesn't mean that it was unusual. It just means that it was, well, fucking bullshit. And then to walk in and have this fucking Carol Miller pull this
She
deal
must
off.
really hate you then.
I don't know. She sure held a grudge for years.
Grudge for that
And
woman.
I didn't want to say to her what I really should have said. Is the reason I probably never talked to her is I felt that as a broadcaster she was mediocre. You know, and you know, I was never impressed by her. And if you talk to certain people, they will agree that she was only distinctive because she was a woman doing it. And you know, there was already Alison Steele, but I can't remember ever caring about the fact that she was a woman or that I didn't think women should be disc jockeys. In fact, I always felt that, you know, I'll tell you what should have been disc jockeys.
You were single then.
I looked at this crowd last night. I looked at this crowd, 43 years of the history of WPLJ. I couldn't find a black person in the entire room.
Wow.
Not one?
Yeah. So you want to tell me about...
I was...
Oh, yeah, well, you know, I mean, I guess if there were black people, they were like me. They decided this party wasn't for them.
Well,
that's true. They might have.
Maybe you were the token Jew.
Well, no, I'll tell you what happened. I think for a while, at least in this business, when I first started out and well into being in it, you didn't have blacks working at radio. There were radio stations where white people worked, and there were radio stations where black people worked. They were called the race stations. And so the white stations never had black personalities, although when I did go to WMCA, which was perhaps one of the biggest radio stations in the history of New York City, they had Frankie Crocker, who was black. But WPLJ, the last time I went there, I was looking. I said, I can show you that video again. Find me a black person, you know? So don't tell me about women and I didn't like women. Fuck you, you cunt. You know?
You were single back then. She wasn't good looking, or
no.
No. Okay. Well, that's why you didn't
not
talk
to
to
my
her.
way of thinking. There was another female announcer there who they brought in for a while, who I did have a relationship with. And you hear her voice every year. But I won't tell you who she is, and I won't tell you what she does. But you've heard her voice. I'll just say that. Okay? Yeah.
It definitely wasn't Carol Miller. We know that.
No, it wasn't Carol Miller. No. But I was always very, I certainly talked to this woman who went on before me, because we got to know each other and we're very close, So I mean, it's not, But that was what I'm pointing that out as being was the first thing that happened to me when I walked into this place. It wasn't like, hey, Alex, how are you? And then, hey, you didn't pay attention to me.
You were overnight, right?
I was overnight, yeah.
Yeah, well, you don't see anybody anyway when you're overnight, right? I remember I picked you up at like 6 o'clock in the morning to give you a ride home.
Oh, okay. I went on at 2 in the morning. I had a studio that was my studio. It was set up to be talk, okay? It's a smaller than this room practically. And the music was being done down the hall. So whoever the jock was, I never even saw them. I would go into my studio and I would prepare the show, and then we'd go on the air, and whoever was in that other studio left and went home. So I never saw them. So, it's not like I pop my head and go, hi, Carol, how are you? I didn't even know who was on before me practically. Except that, the engineer would point to me when I had to start talking. I'd start playing the theme. They knew when the other show was over. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
So, but I just thought that in a situation where there should be camaraderie on some level, almost a let bygones be bygones atmosphere, this woman decided to hassle me.
She's a New Yorker.
Huh?
She's a New Yorker.
Yeah. but
that's what they do.
Yeah. So yeah. She's not British, so she won't know why I'm calling her a cunt. So but I don't know. I just want to forget my whole period at WPLJ. They did, so I should too. And yes, I was at WMCA, and last night I was going to wear my Good Guys T-shirt, sweatshirt, but I decided not to. Because, but I mean,
Jesus.
Yeah, these people are, I mean, it just when a couple of years into me being there, the hacks moved in, and the whole nature of the station changed, and the experimentation of the station changed, and the only thing that remained kind of the same for 5 years was me after 2 o'clock in the morning because they forgot I was there. Now, a lot of you go 2 o'clock in the morning. Who's listening at 2 o'clock in the morning? In New York City, about 30,000. About 30,000 people. Yeah. Today, stations don't go overnight because they're too cheap. But back then, your overnights made you some money if you had a hit show. In my case, I had a hit show. I mean, I had about 20, 30,000 people. More people listened to me at 2 o'clock in the morning in New York City than listen to me in the morning with a hit show in San Francisco.
Yeah, well, much bigger city, bigger market.
Yeah. But, so anyway, that's my story from last night. And I came home. I was home by 8 o'clock, and I said I'd go on the air and do my show, and I went, fuck it. I'm taking the night off. And I was even going to say tonight, fuck it, I'll take the night off. I wanted to see if the machine was fixed.
Well, give us a machine report.
So far, it's still working. You know what happened? When the first time I turned it on when I brought it home, it crashed.
Yeah.
And then it never crashed again. So I think it was some kind of residual crashing in there or something. Mm-hmm. But it didn't crash. So apparently they fixed it.
Now, when you add people, is it like before you were?
Oh no. As a matter of fact, I felt that I was out of sync, and let me see. I may have to call. Oh, here comes Patrick. If people have called before, somehow they come into the group. Hello, Patrick. How are you?
Well, I get better than you were last night.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Well, you saw the video that I had on my Facebook page, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just got to say this. Now, I'm sure everybody on here will disagree with me, but I don't go to any class reunion from high school because I don't give a shit.
I don't either because I don't like those people, and I didn't like them then, and I don't like them now.
I'm friends with a handful of people that I went to high school with, and that's it. And I see those people on a semi-regular basis. So I've never been for that sort of thing anyway. So
right. So you didn't care. Yeah.
No, and frankly, I think your initial, like you said, your good angel or whatever. Yeah, you probably should have just listened, but
I had Albert came into town. Albert wanted to come to it because he should. He knew everybody in that fucking room. Yeah. I didn't know anybody. And it wasn't like I was being introduced. Here's Alex. It started out this Alex Bennett, and then it turned into this is my friend Alex. So I felt like I felt like I was his plus one. Because they all, and I don't blame them. They were all getting into each other. They all knew each other. They hadn't seen each other in years, and here they are. But I'm in there, and I don't know anybody. And occasionally I'd see like a really old guy, and I'd figure, well, he's maybe one of us. But I don't know which one, and it would be embarrassing for me to go up and say, I'm Alex Bennett. You're, I saw one guy, really gray hair, old. I think the woman he was with was like helping him into the room and stuff, and I'm thinking, it's got to be one of ours. But I looked on the list of people who were there, and the people who were in the first what I called the first 5, I think 5 or 6, weren't there. John Zackerly, who was there shortly after I got there because I begged him to come over to WPLJ. And he was very popular. He died a few years back, so he wouldn't have been there. Zach played a ghoul on television, doing horror films. And I figure if anybody could come back, it would be him, But he didn't. And so it was, it was just, why'd I do it, And
But you never know. You may look back on this and say, maybe you go down the road, you say, it's something you did.
What?
Sometimes you don't know how things, you don't know how things can turn out.
No, it was a total waste of my time, I mean, I knew within the first half hour I had to get out of that fucking place.
See, that's good. At least you knew to get out, though, at the right time.
Yeah, I wish I knew that about my career. Yeah. So, anyway.
I still like the Caramilla story, though. That she must really hate him.
Well,
Rub it in.
Something happened.
Hey, listen.
She might have had a crush on you.
I've had a lot. No, I hardly knew the woman.
But you never know. Maybe she was carrying a torch.
Everybody used to talk to me, Carol Miller this, or Carol Miller that, or Carol Miller's over there. And this is in the past. And I would go, yeah, but I never really knew her, So, where she got that attitude, I mean, somebody probably told her that, but that was my attitude about her. And I was completely, it was a wrong assumption on her part. I think she maybe heard that from somebody and held that with her forever. But I never had anything against her because she was, a female.
Tony might be right.
Huh? Anyway.
Tony might be right. She might have had a crush on you, and she's mad because you ignored her.
Nah, I don't think so. There's Ray.
Hey,
yeah,
you didn't have to call me back. It worked.
It worked.
Maybe they fixed it.
Well, they didn't fix it because it always says call was missed. But it seems as though, these are all regular people. I'd like to know if somebody new tries to call, if they can immediately get in, That would be the true test. So.
I'm at a car dealership.
Why?
I just bought a new car.
Did you?
Oh, wow.
Well, I was going to buy our leased car, but because of Memorial Day, a Memorial Day rebate of $4,000, it only cost $1,000 more to buy the same car new. So I just bought a new one instead of buying the 2-year-old one. It's just a Hyundai Elantra. Yeah. That's your basic car.
It's a nice car.
Yeah, I mean, for the money, it's amazing.
Yeah. Can you show us the car, or is?
Well, it looks just like this is the one I'm returning, right?
Hold on
here.
a second. There we go.
That's the one I'm returning, and the new one looks exactly the same.
Oh, really?
And it's brand new. This one is over 2 years old, and I only paid $1,000 more. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they have a Memorial Day rebate.
No,
is it worth it to lease?
Well, I'm gonna just pay. We're gonna just do like 3 monthly payments and then pay it off.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I the idea of leasing a car never made a lot of sense to me.
Well, the only reason I did it with that one is because my parents were paying it for my son, so we never paid a penny.
Well, back in the day,
so I just let it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the day in San Francisco, I had 2 cars, and the second one I leased, but the first one I owned, because the idea of not owning a car kind of bothered me,
My problem was I leased
Well, the big problem
once.
is the mileage limit.
You can't. I couldn't get out of it. I had so many miles on the car I leased that I had to re-up the lease, and then finally I just bought it.
Well, the thing is,
I'll talk to you later.
What?
See you.
What's that?
He had to go.
He had to go. So why'd he call in the first place?
You did a car segment.
Huh?
He gave us a car segment.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But So anyway, I mean, so yesterday wasn't a happy day, but I don't understand. I guess she had some kind of grudge against me.
She did. It's interesting.
Here comes Ray again. What is this? You're back, Ray?
I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I thought I had to switch the cars. He's buying gas.
Oh, I see.
Oh, did you get a full tank out of the guy? Floor mats?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You know.
You get a full tank?
They're desperate.
Hey, gas is $4 a gallon out here. It's over $4.
They're desperate, you say?
On Wednesdays.
On Wednesdays,
I just found out that like Wednesday is the best day to buy a car. Like no one comes in to buy a car on Wednesday.
What is it? Desperate Wednesdays? Is that it?
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
It's the middle of the week.
This place is empty, and so are all the other DG. It's DGDG.com. This guy, this family owns so many car dealers. Oh my God, they must be so rich. These people.
Well, either that or maybe it's a business that you don't get that rich in anymore.
Well, about 20-something years, 25 years ago, the two brothers were doing they had a house in Martinez.
Oh, that's great.
I actually did a floor
Wait a minute, that's
job
either coming from you, Ray, or that's in Tony's neighborhood. One or the other.
I hope it's not my neighborhood.
That was me.
It's not moving.
That was my neighborhood. Yeah, the two brothers. There was a dad, and then the brothers took over.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
They're as sleazy as they look.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, they're really fair at all their dealerships. We bought cars.
They look like car dealers. Who knows if they really own it anymore?
Gee, we got a lot of people. We got a lot of people watching us tonight. Maybe I should only do one show a week or something. You know, I'm serious. You know, like we got almost 40 people watching right now.
Well, this could be a suicide watch.
It could be. They could be waiting for me to commit suicide. Or either that or they want to know what happened last night, and I've already told the story.
Yeah.
You know, that it was the most depressing evening of my life, okay? You know.
No, I know. That sucks when you go to something like that and people don't even know who you are. Oh, man, this is the worst.
Well, it's not so much that, but that I am always a history buff, and I always like to know what went on before I was around. Yeah. And I would certainly know who was at that radio station before I sat in that chair, you know?
Yeah.
And if they were at a party or something, I would go up and say, you know, thank you for, you know, being there in the beginning. You know, right. I don't want people to bow down to me or anything else. It was just, I walked into this room where I was the first, okay?
Yeah.
Nobody else in that room could say they had been with that organization that long ago. I was one of the first 5, okay?
Yeah.
And in that room, I was probably the one who'd been there the longest, all right? And I don't want people to bow down to me, but I just didn't want to feel that lonely there either, you know. And it's kind of like, and sometimes he would, Albert would introduce me as Alex Bennett, or he's with WPLJ when it started, and they go, "Oh, that's nice."
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no meaning to that.
It has no meaning to it. No, because they were there for their, you know, their collegial frat party that they were holding for their school year. Okay. But anyway, it's, you know, the one thing about Albert is that because he was there over a period of 20 years, over a period of something like 30 years. I mean, he was there on various occasions. He knew a lot of people there. And a lot of people knew him just because he had been kind of a continuity of sorts. But you know, I mean, ultimately, I mean, where was I the most successful? Was it New York City on radio? No, I probably was became the most legendary in New York City. But my biggest popularity had to be in San Francisco, you know.
Yeah. They just did a... KQED today, your friend, what's his name? The political comedian. Will Durst was on there, and 3 other local comics, and they were talking about the punchline on Michael Krasny's show, going out of business.
Yeah. I'm mixed about that. But, hey, if you're around long enough, things are going to come to an end.
True. Nothing lasts forever.
Nothing lasts forever. And so the punchline's going. It was going to go eventually. It wasn't going to last for the next 5 centuries,
No. Yeah.
And comedy is not as hot as it was when you were there.
Well, no, it's different.
No.
It's different. So are movie theaters. I mean, in another couple of years, you're not even going to see fucking movie theaters.
Well, maybe they'll put comfy chairs in the comedy clubs.
No. All these things pass. All right? And the problem with comedy now is you go and do your Netflix special and you've just blown an hour's worth of material. In fact, that's why Steve Martin said he quit comedy. It's because by the 3rd comedy album, he says, once you've done 3 comedy albums, you've used up all your material.
I don't agree with that. I think people go to the live show to hear the material and they want to hear it over and over again.
No, that's in a club. I'm not talking about a club. I'm talking about doing I'll tell you, why vaudeville died? Didn't die because it wasn't good. No, it died because of Ed Sullivan. Because somebody would go on, who could twirl plates on a stick to the saber dance, and he could do that once on Ed Sullivan, and then he'd blown the whole act. Yeah. All right, where he had taken that 5-minute act on the road for 20 years prior to it, and gone to many different towns and played to many different people to whom this was new, and now he goes on Ed Sullivan, and in one showing, the whole country sees the act, and he can never do it again.
Topo Gigio did his act every week.
Yeah.
That's a fucking puppet.
That's a fucking puppet. Yeah. But
he was realistic.
That's not what I'm saying, Phil. I said this is why vaudeville was dead.
Yeah.
Not why Italian puppets were dead.
It was a puppet? Oh God! Now I'm
same thing's true with radio. Why is WPLJ going away? Because it probably should have years ago. And just now it ran out of gas. It ran out of somebody wanted to buy it, and they're putting religious music on there because they think that's going to do better than playing rock and roll.
God, radio is so fickle.
Yeah.
Radio's got to be the most fickle form of entertainment.
No, I don't know if it's fickle. I don't know if it's
Well, it just seems like they just dispose of people so easily.
Yeah.
Well, my problem with radio has always been the total mediocrity of it all. Because the people who are making the decisions are not performers. They are salesmen. And they run the radio stations, and they have no idea what talent.
How many of those salesmen?
The only guy I ever worked for.
Oh, my car's ready. Hey, I'll have to say goodbye.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Goodbye.
All right. Thanks a lot. Bye.
We'll see you later. Bye. Let me see here. He is in the number spot here?
3.
He was in number. Well, here I can just change here.
He was in 3.
He was in 3. No, he wasn't in 3.
I'm looking at it.
No, he's not in 3. No.
Jeff is in 9.
No, he's in 7.
Oh, 7.
Yeah.
Oh, you go across? 1, 2, 3.
He's
4,
in
5, 6,
7.
7. Oh, this is a different screen. This is not the first screen.
No.
So therefore, the first screen he would have been 3.
Yeah.
So, I'm going down.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about something here. Josh, I want to know how you feel. Did you hear what went on today in Washington?
Oh, I heard a little bit about it.
Mm-hmm. What was your take on it?
Well, my take is I don't like this show because you guys were mean to me, so I'm taking my microphone and I'm going home. Fuckers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
In other words, the needs of the people were preempted by the needs of his ego.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kiss my ass. Or you're gonna have to get another president.
Yeah, you're going to have to stop investigating me, or I'm not going to build a bridge so people don't go across one that's going to crumble. You know,
Trump vows no more legislation while under investigation.
Yeah. Now, how is that? Is that presidential, Phil? Now, come on, be honest.
It's better than than Avenatti stealing the
no.
money.
Fuck you. You don't change the topic. That has nothing to do with it.
Oh no, I don't know the whole story behind what they're doing. You know what happened?
No, you know the
he
whole
was supposed
story.
to go into negotiations, and Pelosi, 15 minutes before she got there, made a thing that said that she held a press conference and said that Trump was what did she call him?
Cocksucker. He called him a cocksucker.
No, she didn't call him.
He's doing a cover-up.
Yeah, cover-up. So
he says, and you know what he said? I don't do cover-ups. Then what was paying off Stormy Daniels?
Yeah.
Well, obviously
that was a donation.
Is that what? Is it a donation?
No,
it was his donation to vaginas. I see.
He was being blackmailed. And obviously this Avenatti is a real
No. Forget Avenatti. I don't care about that story. It is not important. It's another looky-loo story. We're talking about a president of the United States who refused to talk about infrastructure until they drop all charges they're thinking of bringing against him. Now, one does not have anything to do with the other, and one is something that is the welfare of Americans everywhere, and also will give them jobs as well. And yet he won't talk about it because he wants them to drop the case against him.
Yeah, no do-overs, no mulligans.
No. This is wrong, Phil. This is highly immoral. What do you think?
It's about time somebody stood up to this.
I don't care what you think, Phil, because we know what you think.
I know.
Josh, what thoughts?
Sorry. Well, I mean, I think that even though, I mean, look, Bill Clinton was, treated just as unfairly, if not more so, than Donald Trump. I mean, Bill Clinton was actually impeached, okay? The big I word, They actually rolled that out for Bill Clinton, and yet he still managed to get things done, during that period of time. I mean, the impeachment came, pretty near the end of the presidency, but it was I think we can all remember it was a long, slow, steady road to get to that point. I mean, he was constantly being badgered about things, but yet we can look back and say that a lot of stuff got done. And I think that President Obama, for example, was oftentimes oversight was given over, was over him. Someone today I heard use the word, relentlessly, which I think is true. I mean, they looked into everything that President Obama did. And, I think that we look back now and we all kind of agree he was, even if you didn't like him politically, I think we can all, though, agree that he was probably one of the most, decent individuals to hold the office in the modern era, right? I mean, if you didn't think he did a very good job, fine, but I don't think anybody, goes around, that Obama, he was such a snake, that little crooked, I mean, a pretty decent guy, and he was investigated for many things, and yet things still got done. I mean, if you don't like it, that's fine, but you cannot use the well-being of the American people and of the American democracy as a bargaining chip.
Well, his argument was you can't legislate while you litigate, and the answer to that question is yes, you can.
Right.
Yes, Charlie has his hand up.
Yeah, it's the same deal when he shut down the government, punishing the government workers because he couldn't get his way with the wall. I mean, he was holding the people hostage to get his political point across, and that's exactly what he's doing now.
It's called negotiation.
Did I read that? Did I hear that the government gave Trump $1.7 billion for his wall last year? And that for that 1.7 billion, they did 1.5 miles of wall.
Yep.
They're challenging that.
Who's challenging that?
Bloomberg said that, and it's being challenged because they're saying that there was like 400 miles of wall that was built.
No.
And they're talking about how much was built in 2019, not 2018 and not 2017. They were talking about how much was built in 19.
Phil, he didn't build 400 miles of wall. He did not build 400 miles of wall. That is a lie.
We'll see.
No, if he did,
if
he did, he probably finished the whole goddamn wall.
Well, I don't think so. But Trump.
Well, how
is
long
saying,
do you think the wall
Trump
is? How long do you think the wall is?
Probably. I think it's 700 miles that were built before Trump was there.
Yeah, but how long do you think the whole wall would be if you went from the beginning of the wall to the end of the wall?
Well, it's at least 700 miles, and
so you don't even know.
Well, I don't know because it's being contested. One party says that
you
built 1.5 miles.
You don't know how much wall.
And another party says they built 400 miles.
You know how much wall necessarily has to be built.
2,700 miles.
2,700 miles? I'm sorry, Phil. Nothing close to that.
Well, that would be what it is coast
because
to coast.
The wall stops in the at the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe
yeah.
It goes in and out.
It's more like 1,500 miles, something like that.
All right.
That's a lot of wall.
Well, you save a lot of money that way.
Well, here comes Kevin. Let's see. Come on, Kevin. I'm trying to get you on. Where? Come on, Kevin. There we go. Hey, Kevin, missed call, but there's Kevin. This is very weird. This is a very weird thing that's happening here, but I don't care. It's weird on the good side rather than on the bad side.
Yeah, I even called on my iPad too, and it's different.
Did anybody get a thing that said too low bandwidth or something? No, I didn't either.
Yeah.
But that was coming prior.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure it was going to work or not.
Kevin, what did you think about this thing that went on today with Schumer and Pelosi and the orangutan?
I thought it was the same old bullshit. I thought he was starting his same old tactics again.
Well, the thing is, my feeling is, the world out there that we live in needs this infrastructure, and badly.
Well, that's the thing is, I thought he was actually going to start talking about something.
Yeah,
worthwhile.
and that has nothing to do with the fact of how he feels about Pelosi or that his feelings are hurt or anything else. But he's not ruling by common sense or by what he should be doing for a living. He's ruling based upon his own personal feelings that they've been hurt. And now we're not going to get that bridge. Let people fall into the ravine, And
we need that shit.
Oh, you bet your life.
And it really is personal with him because it's not even very smart politically. I mean, the best thing that he could do would be to, cut some kind of infrastructure deal, for example, and start with the most simplest of things, road paving and bridge things, and then run around for re-election and be like, look, the economy's great, and I'm paving your roads, and I'm building the bridges, and all this time, they badger me and badger me and badger me. I mean, I'm not saying he'd be right. I'm saying this is how he should try to sell it. They just are strapped in there, but he yet I'm still getting it done, and I mean, I guess that's what I'm saying is he's not even able to set aside his personal differences when it would be good for him. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
there's more to this, Josh.
By the way, we've been joined by let me see here.
Rob.
Oh, hold on a second. Joined by Rob Alfano.
You see, they were supposed to determine. Trump was supposed to present how he was going to get the money for the infrastructure. So, because they'd already decided on what they were going to do, how much they were going to do it for, Now it was Trump's turn to say this is where the money is going to come from, and I don't know. Maybe he wasn't prepared.
He did.
Rob, you've just joined us.
Of course he did.
What do you think about the developments today?
That's what this meeting was supposed to be about.
I'm in total agreement with Patrick. I don't give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck.
Is it now?
I've given up. I don't watch. I have not watched a newscast. I don't pay attention to the news.
You're getting like
you know what though, Rob, you're right. My wife said, "Oh, did you watch your political shit all day today?" I said, "No, I watch car shows all day. I watch Motor Trend all day." But you know what?
Anything.
Auction.
The one thing I did see was that I saw that one part, and I went, "Well, I guess I didn't miss much."
Yeah.
Same old shit.
Actually,
but, you know, it's something that. It's something that, like Josh was saying, he could have run with this.
Do you know what
it would have been perfect.
Do you know what I've been watching? What I've been watching, rather than that kind of shit, I've been watching maybe what I think is the funniest show on television. Has anybody seen What We Do in the Shadows?
No.
Tell
me, I need something.
It's on FX. It's a comedy, broad comedy about vampires. But I mean,
really?
it's hilarious. They live in Staten Island.
Oh shit!
And they've been told by the Baron, who is the chief vampire, that they must take over the world. And so far, they've conquered a street and a half. And there are 3 vampires, and then there's a 4th vampire, but he sucks energy by boring you to death. And it's hilarious. It was taken from a movie that was made in New Zealand called What We Do in the Shadows, and it's very funny. So I recommend it highly.
What's it called again?
What We Do in the Shadows. It's on FX.
Check it out. What time?
I don't know what time it's on, but you know, if you've got like a smart
Might
TV,
be on
you
demand.
can probably.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, you could do that. You know.
Patrick's got his hand up.
Yes, Patrick.
Yeah, I mean, like today, it was actually a decent day, weather-wise, in my neck of the woods. So I don't need to sit in front of the television. I mean, and you know what? I felt good, and I came home and I was happy, and then I ate.
Yeah.
And I don't have this consternation of, oh my God, he walked out of a fucking meeting. Who cares? She was probably a fucking cunt in the meeting too.
No, she didn't have time to be a cunt. She that was one of the problems. I mean, he left the room within 3 minutes, and they weren't able to say anything to him.
I like the idea the guy stands up for himself instead of being a punk. You know?
Oh yeah. But it affects you, Phil. It affects you, and it affects the infrastructure. And I just
nothing's changed in 50 years. The infrastructure has been falling apart for 50 years.
That's the point.
Yes, that's the point.
All right, so he'll fix it.
But there's a cost to that kind of stuff. I mean, that's like the best player on your football team getting mad at some guy who called him a name and getting fucking suspended for 3 games because he got in a fight, and then, you know, you're without him for 3 games. I mean, it's like if he had just fucking shut up, what's better for the team? You know, I mean, sometimes it's hard to do, and it's tough, and it's not easy, but sometimes it's what you have to do. And if there's one job in the world that requires that kind of stuff, it's the job that he went around and asked for. You know, I mean, he didn't inherit that, you know, some job that he didn't want. I mean, it's not a birthright. You got to ask for it, and you gotta spend a shit ton of your own time and a shit ton of your own money to get it. I mean, you literally beg to get that job. So, I mean, he has the right to operate however he wants when he gets there. I mean, I will not deny that, but I'm just saying, you know, it's not a job for thin-skinned, grudge-holding, you know, fucking spoiled little brats, and that's exactly what you have. It's just, you know, I mean,
And like you say, if nothing's been done for 50 years and he's walking in there saying he can do everything and he's got the chance to do it, then do it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my issues with him
you
are
don't
not.
let somebody slap you in the face 15 minutes before they walk in and then give them $2 trillion.
Phil, yes, you do. Yes, you do. Phil, yes. Hold on a second. Phil, yes, you do. Because one thing doesn't have anything to do with the other. And what you're talking about is something for the welfare of the American people that needs to get done, that has nothing to do with whether you don't like what this woman just said about you. That's being thin-skinned, and it's not being very presidential.
And my understanding is it was reversed.
What
They were going in there talking, then she came out and said that there was a cover-up going on because he shut it down.
No. She said it before the meeting. She said it before the meeting.
Well,
But he
thought it
already
was
had the
other way around,
signs
but-
made up. How do you know what she was going to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, he already had the signs ready to go. He knew what he was going to do.
He saw her on TV. Making a statement.
No, but he had all the signs ready for his little speech afterwards that were referring to what he was going to do in the meeting, and those things had to be put together a day beforehand, Phil.
Well, that's preparedness.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yes,
Guys
yes.
He could have just shined it all on.
Patrick
and kept
has
on.
Patrick has his hand up. Yes, Patrick.
Yeah, I mean, like Josh was saying, there's a point at which you act like a professional. Even if you don't like what's happening, you sit there. It's like Mom used to say, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
Just sit there and shut the fuck up. And if she ran her mouth like the bitch that I think she is, you just take it. And then once she's done running her mouth, then you ask her, are you done running your mouth? And if she's done, then you can say, okay, this meeting's over because we've achieved absolutely nothing except you berating me or whatever it is. And, but you don't just up and leave it. Then the thing that I will say that annoyed me that I saw on the news is he goes and he has a fucking news conference about leaving fucking meeting.
So did she.
No.
Yeah, go up to both of them. And the
I heard it on C-SPAN all day long.
Phil, they had to set up the microphones for them. They didn't have to set up the microphones for Trump. Those microphones and that sign and all of that were sitting there waiting while he was holding the meeting. So he knew what the outcome of the meeting was going to be, and he knew it a day ahead of time. Okay.
The President of the United States says make the signs. They're made in 10 minutes.
No, they're not made in 10 minutes. They were made the night. They were. It was stated they were made the night before.
Why didn't he just let her go off? Say, are you done? We're here for infrastructure. Let's talk about infrastructure and get going. Because that's the main thing. That's the main thing the country needs. They can keep on bitching and whining and squawking at each other and calling each other names. Get shit done.
Didn't have a chance to call him any names.
Exactly. I mean, thin skin ain't going to get you nowhere.
Well, it's not. Who it winds up hurting is you and me, and the rest of the country.
In the end, and that he should just say, "Okay, are you done? Now we're here for a reason. Let's move on."
Yeah.
But he doesn't. He goes, wah, wah, wah. I'm going to go out to the microphone and say you called me names. And then she's going to go out there and say the same thing.
By the way, Rob, what are you watching on your iPhone?
No, I'm not watching anything. I'm just looking up something. That's all.
Oh, I see.
And it has nothing to do at all with politics.
Yeah.
I thought you were watching baseball.
Patrick has his hand up. Yes, Patrick.
Yeah, hockey's almost over too.
To me, that type of a meeting is like an argument between a husband and wife.
Yeah.
You just you let her run her mouth, and then when she's done, or he's done, then like Kevin said, are you done? Okay, now let's move on to whatever, it's bickering. It's not even arguing, it's just bickering. It's petty bullshit.
Yeah, but she didn't even have time to say anything. Okay.
She said it before the meeting.
No, Phil, forget about what she said before the meeting. That was on an entirely different subject than infrastructure, okay? Period.
It's
Who gives a fuck? Let's pave the roads. Let's fix the fucking bridges. Jesus Christ.
People are dying out there.
It doesn't matter if it was said on a different platform or whatever, because he does not like being criticized. So it could have been said outside the room. It could have been California, or it could have been said inside the room. The reaction would have been the same.
Yeah. Could have been said on Twitter. He'd have gotten upset.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, but all I'm saying is that he's saying that he will not pass any legislation until the Congress stops their investigation against him. Well, what does one have to do with the other? And why do you hold up legislation for the people? Because you want to somehow interfere in the process of the government. It's really an amazing stance he took.
Yeah.
And one that comes very close to obstruction of justice. How do you
collusion?
How do you feel, Josh? Is there something to be said for that being obstruction of justice?
Well, I don't really think that would be considered it. I mean, and that's nearly impossible to prove. I think it's an obstruction in the sense that we can look at it as voters, and look at it that way. Now, I think that I think he. I've come to pretty much to the conclusion that I do think he obstructed justicely, during the Mueller investigation. I mean, I think that becomes a little bit more clear each day, and I think that's why he's taking so many steps to stop it now, and stop it in its tracks, because I think the more information that comes out, the worse that it gets for him. I mean, his actions today, I don't think amount to that. I think they amount to stupidity.
What I'm saying is, when you say that I'm not going to pass any legislation unless you stop your investigations, the two he claims that you can't legislate and litigate at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Where's that written? Of course you can't.
Well, right, and that's a ridiculous notion. Right.
He's guilty of obstruction of progress. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, yeah. We want our bridges. We want our we want to safely go across a bridge without it collapsing. So,
Tell you what,
and I mean, and he's just guilty of basically being stupid, because if he were smart and he were observant, rule number one that he could have learned was that given the opportunity, if Democrats are in power, you really just have to hand them the rope, and they will hang themselves. I mean, every time. I mean, if he would just play his cards decently, he would be in a great position. But that's what I'm saying. He just lets his grudges, get ahead of what's best for even himself. So, but hey, that's good for us. Let's just sit back and watch.
You think that if anything would give him a partisan, would make him look partisan and bring him across the aisle, would be an infrastructure, because nobody's going to argue against that.
Right.
Do you think that his supporters? Do you think that this is throwing red meat to the supporters? That he's got a scenario here where they're attacking him for his taxes, they're attacking him for a number of other things. They want to get Hope Hicks, and they're doing subpoenas, and they're talking impeachment, and so by doing what he did, changes the conversation, and also gets his base behind him.
His base are,
which is me.
His base. Well, I don't think his base is you, really. His base are basically people who are stupid and missing a tooth. Okay,
that's not true. That's what the media will tell
people
you.
Who don't know. No, I mean, come on.
That's what Hillary said. That they're deplorable.
You disappoint me, because I can't believe that a man
the Nazis are deplorable,
who has half a brain like you do, and I think you have at least half a brain.
Which half?
Could even find this behavior acceptable.
I don't find
Jeff,
his behavior
Jeff looks
acceptable.
like he has something to say.
I don't.
Jeff looks like he has something to say. Jeff,
okay,
do
but
you?
I don't find his behavior acceptable. I find that he's fighting his battle the way he fights it.
Yeah. Jeff?
I think it's time for Trump to get a new job.
I think that's probably the best comment we've had all night. Simple.
Alexa Gente.
But do you think that all those people that were half way back, and at this time before the next election, where everybody's starting to get warmed up, and all this bullshit's been going on for the last year and a half or whatever, and they're starting to talk infrastructure and things like that, that he would take the stance that he might start crossing over the aisle and doing stuff to bring some of those other people that were kind of half on the fence and said, oh, let's take a chance on Trump, that he would try and draw some of those people back in by jumping over the aisle and start.
He can't do that.
Saying,
he can't do that.
He doesn't have to.
Bill
Bullshit.
Clinton coined the phrase, "It's the economy, stupid," and that's what it is. It's the economy.
Actually, that wasn't Bill Clinton.
Who was?
I think it came before then. I think it was. I think it was Reagan.
No, I think it was Bill.
No, it wasn't Bill Clinton. No.
No. It was his political advisor, the James.
Carville.
Yeah.
Carville.
Yeah.
But it sounds to me like he's just going to bet on his same old base, and he's lost a lot of those people,
I don't think so.
Some of them,
can't
anyway.
do that. Trump can't do that. He cannot. He cannot cross the aisle because his base would go against him for that.
That's what I said.
He needs to be loyal to that.
James Carville, by the way. Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
But there's a lot of people that took a chance on Trump, right? And there's a lot of people that were not actually Trump fans, and they went over and said, let's take a chance on him. And that probably got him over the hump, right?
No. What got him over the hump was the swing states.
I think there was a lot of people that said, they didn't like Hillary, and they were going to take a chance on Trump. And there was a lot of those polls and surveys that went out and looked around and found people that did that, said, I voted for Trump. I took a chance on him. I'm really sorry I did that. And
I don't know anybody besides
a lot
Phil.
of people that did that. They're not going to get those people anymore.
Most people like me aren't sorry.
No, I understand.
I don't know
that,
anybody besides you that isn't sorry. Everybody else I talk to is like,
because everybody else you talk to is a Democrat.
No, that's not true.
And they're still trying to redo the election. And you didn't get what you wanted out of the Mueller report, so now you're going to try something else.
Phil, you said that again. You keep saying that, and the
You've
country
got those
keeps saying
people that are going to jump.
We didn't get anything
or...
out of the Mueller report. What we got out of the Mueller report is what his boy told everybody, and stalled that report coming out for weeks. So that became the narrative.
Yep.
That's what we got out of the Mueller.
But there was no collusion, and the Mueller the whole investigation was based on a false.
No, it's not.
The
the
Pfizer
Russians
report
did interfere with the election.
Yeah, but it wasn't Trump that had anything to do with it.
That's
The Russians interfered while Obama.
Here is everybody. I'm getting a headache.
Yeah,
okay,
kind of
I no, yes, okay, I'll say it said no collusion, but it didn't say no obstruction of justice,
Right,
and that is where the Democrats are making their investigation. They're enough with the no collusion, no whatever. The fact is that the Mueller report did not say that he maybe wasn't guilty of obstruction of judgment. No, because it's not his job to charge anybody, Phil.
It's his job
no,
to
it wasn't.
say that...
It wasn't his job to... He said, I will not make a decision on that.
Congress's job.
Yeah.
That's why they're doing the
Congress's job
investigation.
to...
Anyway, enough of that. We have, as of now, count them, and this is amazing, 24 people running for the Democratic candidacy.
Yeah.
Comment from anybody?
I like Andrew Yang.
Huh?
If I was going to vote for a Democrat, I like Andrew Yang.
You like
Do you think
Andrew
we'll hit
Yang?
30?
Why do you like Andrew Yang?
He's brilliant. And Now he has some ideas to deal with things. He's actually got a plan.
Yeah.
Unlike Biden, who's just an empty vessel, who will say anything or do anything, but has no meat to him. Andrew Yang, even though he wants, for instance, Milton Friedman is one of the economists that says that the basic income. Now, I don't necessarily agree with this basic income thing, but Andrew Yang wants to give each person over 18 $12,000, and that, and they can buy health care with it. They can do what they want with it. It kind of makes a little bit of sense.
Phil, shut up for a moment. I'll tell you why to shut up. Andrew Yang doesn't have a chance of getting the nomination. Okay, no chance at all.
Doesn't matter.
No chance at all, Phil. Well, it does
as long
matter.
as you
it
keep
does
saying
matter.
he's got no chance,
No,
but he's
have,
smart.
We have to talk about people who reasonably have a chance of getting the nomination. So who has a reasonable chance of getting the nomination, people?
Elizabeth Warren had lots of plans.
Nah.
She's put out more plans and studying things to do than any other candidate.
In fact,
all the other candidates combined.
She brought out wait a minute. She brought out a jacket with 2 pair of plans.
Yeah. Hey, the DNC has already decided it's going to be Joe Biden.
That's
They're
right.
already fixing it for Joe Biden. And, these other people, they're wasting their time by debating. It doesn't matter. This decision's already been made.
I agree.
I heard him speak the other day. And while I'm not a big fan of Biden's at this point, I mean, there are a lot, just like you, there are a lot of people I would rather see. But reasonably, I don't think that they have a chance. Although Mayor, what's his name, Mayor Pete,
Edge,
I think has somewhat of a chance here. And he carries himself very well. But the thing is, I saw Biden give a speech the other day in Philadelphia, and he does appeal to the common man much better than Trump does.
All he says is, "I'm not Trump. Vote for me."
Wait a minute. No, Phil. Then you're not listening to
I'm
speeches.
a nice guy. I'm from the Midwest.
He is talking to the working man, okay, and woman. He is speaking directly to them. And
but
the speech I saw had a lot more substance than anything Trump has ever proposed. Yes,
Rob.
Yes, Rob.
You know what I'm sick of seeing is headlines like "America is ready for a gay president." Who gives a rat's ass what sex, what color?
Well, but you haven't heard that.
We're ready for a president who could do the job.
But you haven't heard that
about anything else.
You haven't heard that. You haven't, Rob. You haven't heard that from Mayor Pete. As a matter of fact, he never brings that up. He just says, "I'm gay. That's it. Now let's move on."
All I'm saying is
it's stupid though. Like,
it's time we had a Jewish president, but we're never going to have that.
How about an uncircumcised president?
An uncircumcised president, yes.
America's ready.
Can you do the job? Yes, I don't care.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I'll work for tips.
But you're right. It sounds right. It sounds tacky.
Wait a minute.
I'll sell carpet for food.
Patrick has his hand up. Yes, Patrick.
Love the carpet in the White House. You charge a triple.
Patrick.
Hey, at least the cripples have already had our president, so.
Wait a minute. The cripples? Who was crippled?
The socialist FDR.
Oh, FDR. You're right.
Right.
You're
That's
right.
the point, Patrick.
Yeah.
He was good.
Okay.
But they hid it. Because they didn't want to make him look weak.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, they hid it. People didn't know he was crippled while he was president because it wasn't like it is today. There are no TV cameras following him around.
It's newsreels.
Yeah, but they weren't following him around. They did a good job of hiding that he was crippled because they thought
they actually
he obstructed crippleness.
They actually asked the press not to show him. There's only supposedly one piece of footage anywhere of him walking with his braces. And otherwise, also to their credit, he was working in a radio age and running for office in a radio age, not a television age. And film was very slow radio,
Right.
Didn't they play the newsreels at the movie theaters, and that's where people would get their news?
Week old news.
Yeah, well, that was the way it was.
Yeah. What happened? What happened to
Kevin?
Kevin, where's Kevin? Did we lose Kevin?
He was muted, and now he probably turned off his camera.
Where did he go?
So, Alex.
Yeah.
Before we go, I just wanted to share something with you. I hear you got your MacBook back. Yeah, I mean your Mac Pro back. And
Yes.
It's all good, right? So this week I'm in Orlando. I've been here all week.
Yeah.
Going home tomorrow. And on.
Are you at the Gaylord?
No, I'm at the.
Let him finish
Walt
what he's
Disney
saying,
Swan.
Oh, nice.
Let him finish what he's saying.
And so I Tuesday morning I get up, I put my Apple Watch on.
Yeah.
And I touch it, and it clicks. I'm like, what the hell's that? Look at this.
What? I don't
See
see
it?
it. What's wrong?
Oh, it's coming apart.
Oh, you know what that is?
The face.
That's a
Yeah,
swollen
battery.
Swollen battery. I had one of those.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did
Not
they
on
fix
this not on this watch, but on the is yours one of the new ones?
No, this is old.
Oh, because that one.
Did they fix it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Did they fix it free?
Yep, because a swollen battery is a yeah.
Dangerous.
Didn't cost me a penny.
You know, they,
Yeah.
you know they're not going to fix mine for free.
They're not?
Why?
Nope.
Why?
They want to charge me $79 for the battery.
Bastards.
Really?
All right.
Well, all I know is I got my Mac Pro back, and this time they replaced once again the CPU, okay, and they replaced the logic board, so that basically, except for the flash memory and the power supply, everything in this computer is replaced. It may be refurbed parts, but it's been replaced. So
that's pretty good.
$5,000 worth of work
For $300.
for $359. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
Yeah. So what the hell?
But what do you think about Apple now?
I love them. I love them. I think they're terrific. I think that they're the best company that ever lived in the whole wide world.
Now, you go in, Rob, and you tell them that that's not safe, and that
I
they're
already
putting
spoke
you
with them
in jeopardy.
I already spoke with them on the phone. They're sending me a box, and I'm going to ship it to them, and they're going to charge me $79. Whatever else is wrong, there will be no other charge.
Okay. Well,
Maybe you'll get a Mac Pro back.
Yeah. Maybe they'll send you a Mac Pro.
There you go. I'll trade.
Well, this thing's working okay.
Yeah.
It's working. It's. I don't think it. Knock on wood, has the problems that it had. Hey, listen. There's the theme song, folks. Gosh, what happened to Jeff? Jeff's just a door.
A window. He's been called away.
Yeah. But anyway, thanks to Jeff, and thanks to Charlie, and thanks to Josh, and thanks to Phil, and thanks to Tony, and thanks to Patrick, and thanks to Kevin. Thank you, Rob.
And thanks to Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's our... fuck you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our citizens panel, and I will wave goodbye to them if they'll wave back. There we go, and you out there can wave at them and wave back. Okay, there we go. Anyway. That's it for our citizen panel for tonight. Let me get rid of them here and make sure that we don't have to deal with them any longer. I have to turn it all off because the next show up here is Jack Bishop and the Intersection. And then we'll be back again tomorrow night, right after Damian Chaplin and the Exchange at 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. And in the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye, everybody.